I had to I had to practice not being smug when I said it. So I would literally just sit there with Zach, and he would just look at me and be like, "I would like to speak to your manager," and I would just look at him dead in the eyes and be like, "I am the manager," or "I am," because the first time I had to say that, I laughed. I was like, "Ha ha ha."
You fool! I am the manager.
I was just really excited. In reality, I came out sounding like a '90s anime villain. Okay, let's do this, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to Ticket Studs. I am Matthew Wickham, one of your hosts, joined
I'm
today
Gabi.
by Gabi.
Oh shit, Matt.
I fucked it up.
You didn't tell me what you were gonna say.
I didn't. That's okay.
The amount of overspeak.
It's gonna keep going. Today on Ticket Studs, we will be discussing my favorite film, easily one of my top 5 favorite films, Bloodsport, the 1988 sports drama masterpiece.
This film was a mess, but it got it.
From start to finish.
From absolute start to finish. So would you say this is your sleepaway camp?
I guess so. I that's a fair assessment. I would definitely say
this is your hot mess movie that you're like, oh, you haven't seen Bloodsport? We're watching Bloodsport.
This is the movie I make all of my friends watch, and then I watch them watching the movie. I don't partake in the film often unless I'm watching someone watch it.
We also have similar thoughts where we've talked about this. Neither of us like having our favorite thing all the time. I love Star Wars so much. I have a Star Wars tattoo. It's my favorite film. It's very near and dear to me for nostalgic reasons. I can't watch Star Wars all the time. I can't consume Star Wars media all the time because then it kind of ruins it for me.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a fair take on consumption.
But I loved this movie. I loved it a lot. I didn't take a lot of notes.
That's
except for
because I did.
I counted the number of times he did the split.
7.
Yes, I counted the number of times that they showed his glistening abs.
Not enough, in my opinion.
It was 13.
It wasn't enough. All right, he could have been shirtless the whole film, and it would have been fine.
All right, so why don't you give us a little breakdown?
All right, so this is a 1988 semi-truthful biography. How would you phrase this? Biopic?
I didn't know that it was a biopic until the very end, where it said based on the real life and true events of Frank Dukes. Frank
Dukes, put up your dukes.
Which is a line in the film. And
so this is based on the life events of Frank Dukes, which
it showed that at the end of the film, and I went, really?
Yeah. Okay. So at the time, people believed that this was true. Much later, it was proven that the trophies and the awards that the real life Frank Dukes won, he bought at a trophy store and faked almost all of his records.
The longest con.
Seriously. He had people, the character that Ray Jackson was based off of, he basically paid him to lie for him.
The nasty man?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember his name.
Ray Jackson.
No, wait, was his name actually Ray Jackson?
Oh no, I don't remember the actor's name. Let me pull up
the character. I couldn't remember the character's name, but I thought that he was a villain for the longest time.
Donald Gibb. He plays the villain in Revenge of the Nerds. He plays Ogre.
Oh my god, that is him!
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. The cross-eyed goofus.
Yeah.
Anyway, so little fun fact about this film that I want to throw in. It was almost unreleased, and the reason it got released was because Jean Claude Van Damme himself, the muscles from Brussels, sat down and finished editing this film. So,
oh my god!
So the majority of the edit in this film is Jean Claude Van Damme cutting.
I love knowing that, though.
Right?
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Is Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, the iron butt, a good actor? Because the only other thing that I've seen him in is Time Cop.
Yes. Okay. I have a point that I want to bring up later about Time Cop.
Okay, we'll talk about Time Cop.
I think he's a fine actor. I don't think he's like Oscar material, but there has not. He's like a Dwayne the Rock Johnson to me. I have not seen a film that he has been in that I've not enjoyed. Like, I've never left like a viewing of a Jean Claude Van Damme movie and be like, I didn't like that. Every time I'm like, yeah, that was fun.
I feel like we should release a quick kind of like, not necessarily a trigger warning, but like a statement going into this. There will be spoilers. It's a film review podcast.
Oh, yeah.
A and B. This movie is super racist.
It was, yeah.
However, it's 1988. Like, it's problematic.
Let's put our 1988 blinders on.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put our 80s blinders on for both the constant orange and blue palettes, like throughout this film, A, and B, for the incredibly racist portrayals, where I just kept, throughout the film, I just kept saying, well, you know, at least they actually got Asian actors to play Asian people. At least they actually got like Spanish actors to play Spanish people. So you kind of have to watch it with that knowledge.
So which piece are you referring to? Because there's a couple like stereotypes in there, and I think that was just for an 80s audience to be like, oh, of course he's Middle Eastern. Oh, of course he's from XYZ. But
yeah,
other than
exactly.
that, there wasn't. It was subtle racism, which I'm not defending. It wasn't like, oh my God, these people, how dare they?
Yeah.
It was stereotyped mostly in the costuming.
Yeah, well, the worst one, the voices weren't great. I think the worst one was definitely the Middle Eastern fighters. Like
a lot of the dialogue was ADR'd.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, and it was done over. I don't know if it was done by those actors, because a lot of those the fighters in the film were either stuntmen or real life martial artists, like competitive martial artists.
The stunts in this film are amazing.
Yes.
The number of sick flips that occur. I should have had a sick flip counter.
You should have had a sick flip counter. How'd you fuck this one up?
I know. I'll watch it again. I'll count the sick flips.
Please and thank you.
There was, I think the other things that the Middle Eastern men were definitely probably the worst. There were a couple other basic, just kind of like low hanging fruit, like the Japanese guys, the sumo wrestler, the people of color who the black people in this movie and the people of color did not have names. Yeah, did not have lines.
None of the fighters did. None of the fighters did. The only fighter that actually had a line was Bolo Young's character, Chong Li.
They had a black man who literally danced around like a monkey.
He was, I forget, there was an explanation for that. Like, his fighting style was like, this is going to sound terrible, but like animal style. It's like he was supposed to be like fighting like animals. And I know it's racist, but like they had the other black guy who was like that shaky like finger point thing to like the cutthroat, and then he got knocked out in 8 seconds like a chump.
What a fucking chump!
But the only fighters that actually had dialogue were Jean Claude Van Damme, Ray Jackson, the Donald Gibb character, and Bolo Young's character,
the Nasty Man.
Yes, the guy who drank beer and crushed a brick on his head.
Yeah, he's the Nasty Man. So yeah, and then there was like little stuff, but it wasn't super blatant. There was one that like I noticed for obvious reasons. I was like, you had a guy who like danced around and did the knuckle thing, and I was like, is he supposed to be like a Spanish character? And then there were like Paco. I was like, all right, sick.
Well, he's a professional Muay Thai fighter. I know that off the top of my head. I don't remember where the actor is from, but he was playing. Yes, he was playing the Spanish character. He looks like a French stereotype, though.
He does. I also know a man from Spain named Paco, so part of me is like, yeah, right. Like in my day-to-day life. However, not all, some of it was just kind of like actual like, oh, this is a racist portrayal, and then a lot of it was just kind of like diet racism, like standard standard 1988 oh yeah, Spanish dude, what's his name, Paco, this is salsa tango, what the fuck ever, Japanese guy, big man, sumo wrestler, stoic, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So all right, so now, all right, you brought up Japanese stereotypes. So the movie starts with like this. The movie relies so heavily on montage that
yes,
this could have been a short film, but because the Canon needed to make a 90-minute feature, they just used montage and awkward slow motion to like pad out their time so much.
Yes, they did.
So there's the opening montage where they show the groups like training and setting up the stage for the Kumite, the underground fighting tournament that it's supposed to be a secret, but literally everyone in Hong Kong knows about it, and apparently everyone in Hong Kong attends.
Well, they made a statement. They made a statement that was like, it's an international fighting tournament. The tournament. It's an international fighting tournament. It made a comment about the mafia, like it's funded by the mafia or something like that.
Yeah,
or protected by it.
But it's supposed to be secret. Like everyone at some point mentions that like you're not supposed to know, you're not supposed to get in. Like this is, how did you find this? Meanwhile, it's just like in an alleyway. It's like it's not even like hidden. It's just like you make a left here.
Yeah, you just like walk down the street. You're like, hey, you going to the Kumite?
There wasn't a secret knock. There wasn't anything. It was just an open door, like down an alley.
Yeah.
Which that alley scene they parody so many times in so many different things, and I love. But
orange and blue palettes, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
But the use of montage. So the first montage of the training, there's about a 4-minute like break, and then an immediate second montage that is technically, according to IMDb, when I looked it up last night, it is the longest flashback sequence in film.
Okay,
at 11 minutes.
I was thinking that because, like I said, I made my best friend watch it with me. I was like, "Hey, I gotta watch Bloodsport. Do you want to watch it with me?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll probably do some work on my computer."
You got to.
I gotta.
You mean I have to enjoy Bloodsport? No, it's fine. It's fine.
I want to keep you on your toes. I want you to know that this is a burden upon my life.
Okay. Anyway, I apologize for interrupting. So you had to watch Bloodsport with your best friend.
I had to watch Bloodsport with my best friend. She's like, I'm just going to do some work on my laptop. 3 minutes in, she's like hooked. She's like, I'm not going to look at my laptop.
Yes.
She was like in it. And we started watching the montage, and she looks at me at one point and is just like, is this still the flashback? I'm like, I think so. The flashback ends, it cuts back to him. Like, she looks at me another 5 minutes later. She's like, is this still the flashback?
Well, the thing with the flashback that I love is that in order to signify that it's still the flashback, they just basically cut to a still frame of Jean Claude Van Damme's face, just stoically like staring off camera at something.
So yeah, so you kind of can't really tell where the flashbacks stop, where the episodes begin, or the movie begins. Like, it kind of just blurs together because the flashbacks are so long and detailed.
It's like a 30-minute intro before you actually understand what's going on in the film. And the intro, like the explanation of the film comes like halfway through the flashback, which is when Jean Claude Van Damme is basically an adult, but he's got a different hairstyle to signify that he's younger.
Yes.
So I'm going to go over the flashback real quick. It's such a distinct part of the movie that I can't skip over it. It somehow starts with 3 kids breaking into this man's home to play with the sword he has on display.
Yeah.
And then when they get caught, 2 of the kids run away, and the 3rd kid just stands there staring blankly at the sword on the ground, and then gets attacked by the child son of the man whose sword they stole.
Mr. Tanaka?
Mr. Tanaka, yeah.
Yeah.
So Jean Claude Van Damme, as a child, stands still in the middle of a room that he just broke into like an idiot, and then gets attacked by like an 8-year-old and then somehow is convinces the man to teach him martial arts.
Well, it was nice that it wasn't just kind of like, this is a runaway child, he's troubled. They actually show a scene where Mr. Tanaka is sitting down with his parents, like, yeah, I'm gonna train him. His parents were like, all right,
I will teach him discipline.
I thought he kept saying like martial science or like science arts or something. Is that what it is?
He says like martial science like once or twice. He phrases it awkwardly.
I temporarily forgot it was a kung fu movie, and I was kind of like, what is that? What's happening?
Exactly, yeah. What's going on? What's going on?
I was very confused, but I was never entertained and I was never bored.
I'm sorry, you were never entertained? You said, I am very confused. I was never entertained, but I was never bored. Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was consistently entertained and I was never bored.
Okay.
Yeah, it checked my boxes. It checked all the boxes for me.
Now that we're halfway through the flashback, we now get to this one scene where the young son is being bullied, and Jean Claude Van Damme's child actor analog comes up and like pushes a guy, and then like stands like he's ready to fight, but the actor that they used just looks like he's about to cry constantly. So he pushed the kids off. His fists are at his waist level but clenched, and then he just kind of like looks around real sheepishly. The
child actor they got kind of has the Tom Holland face where he looks like he always has a frog in his mouth.
Yeah, which is such a gross thing to think about. But
he always looks like he's got a snack.
Yeah, he helped the son up, and without any prompting or explanation, the son just cuts into exposition, and he's just like, someday I'm gonna fight in the Kumite and make my father proud. What's the Kumite? This is the first mention of it pretty much the entire film.
I feel like you can assume where you're like,
you can assume, but
yeah,
he's 9. The kid is 9, and
it's not.
He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna fight. I got my ass kicked.
No one's allowed to know about it.
In a secret tournament that adults fight in, and make my father proud. No one's allowed to
know about the secret international fighting tournament, except for this 9-year-old Japanese American kid, and literally everyone else. It's fine.
It's just common sense at this point.
But it's secret.
But
it's held in Hong Kong every year. It's paid for and funded by the mafia for entertainment.
Hey, Gabby, shh. It's a secret.
It's secret.
It's a secret, bud.
Hey, man, don't talk about it.
Don't talk
about Kumite.
Hey, no Kumite.
First rule, Kumite, don't talk about Kumite.
Okay, so after the random interjection of the word Kumite, which I don't even think is a real word. I think they just made it up. It's a real thing. I don't know if the validity of that or not, but
it was called something else. It was like the Kaima.
Thank you. After the mention of Kumite, they go into like this training sequence, and Jean Claude Van Damme's child character gets his ass kicked by the 9-year-old continuously and gets called Round Eye, which I was odd. I was also out of the blue.
I was here for it. He just threw it out there and was like, yeah, Round Eye. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, all right, fine. Then another cut back to present day Jean Claude Van Damme, stoic face staring off screen. And then it cuts back to a scene where they're looking at a photo of like a teenage Asian child, but now he's dead. So there's no explanation as to how or why the son died. Doesn't
matter. So doesn't matter. So that Frank can fight in the Kumite. That's all you need to know.
And then there's an argument between Frank Dukes and Mr. Tanaka about being trained. And then there's an epic training montage.
Yes, which is really epic. Like, oh my God, very intense.
It's so good.
He does the splits 2 different times. 2 different times.
2 different times this one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's including the scene where he's like tied up and has to find his center.
Yes.
Okay, good. So he goes through this wildly rigorous training where he's basically getting just beat up repeatedly for about 5 minutes, and then intermittently or to show that he has completed his training, he must perform a complete tea ceremony blindfolded. Which,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sick flips. It is 5 minutes of sick flips. And a glistening Jean Claude Van Damme,
yes.
the muscles from Brussels.
That's my favorite nickname. Like I really wish I had a cool nickname like that.
You have to say the entire thing.
The muscles from Brussels. Jean Claude Van Damme. The muscles from Brussels.
The Brussels from muscles. Jean Claude Van Damme.
Jean Claude Van Damme.
Jean Claude Van Damme. Brussels muscles.
Just slur straight through that.
That's all you need. JCVD TMFB.
So it's been about 45 minutes since this movie started, and the flashback sequence is finally over. It is finally complete, and we're back in present day. And present day Frank Dukes goes to see a elderly Mr. Tanaka who they didn't bother to change the makeup or anything. It's just the same looking dude, just in a bed this time.
I will bet money that
he's sick.
Some production design. I will bet money that some production designer was like, "Yeah, Asian people don't age. It's fine."
I believe you.
Yeah,
reluctantly, because the mother, Mrs. Tanaka, also doesn't age, at all. No, it's 20 years of flashback, and she is like the same hair, same jewelry, same just like awkward smile.
In their defense, I don't think exactly the hair and makeup department was doing their job, because there's a flashback to like 15, 20 years ago, and the costumes are the exact same. So this is 1988. We'll say the flashback was in like 1965, 1968, somewhere around there.
Oh yeah, the home doesn't change at all. Like there's no like change in decoration. Yeah. It's nothing. Nothing has changed.
The kids are still wearing like 80s attire. The cars are still from the 80s. Mm-hmm. Like nothing has changed.
Zero. Absolutely nothing.
There's nothing to signify, oh, this is a flashback. We're now in the late 60s, early 70s. Nothing.
So Frank explains that he's going to enter the Kumite to honor Mr. Tanaka, his Shidoshi, which that's a word I've never heard before this film.
It's fine.
But he's going to honor his Shidoshi. And next thing you know, we're in Hong Kong.
Okay, I was confused at the transition to Hong Kong, because the film takes place when it's in America, it takes place in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And so there have been a couple different shots of him walking around Chinatown in San Francisco on a trolley train. And then they cut to him on a trolley train, but in Hong Kong. And I thought that he was still in Chinatown.
I think that's one of those, like, they tried to do like a match cut. Like, they're not so different from us. They also ride trolleys, but they totally missed the mark.
It wasn't until like they're in the hotel lobby and she's like, "What are you doing in Hong Kong?" I'm like, "Oh, shit. I'm here for the Kumite. Get me into the Kumite."
You know the secret underground Kumite? Yeah, I'm here for that. You know the one we're not supposed to talk about? Yeah, that's me.
Hey man, you here for the Kumite? Yeah, what room are you staying in?
Oh shit, Kumite.
Yeah, the same hat.
Exactly.
Now, so we're in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Now we're being properly introduced to all of the fighters in some capacity. And we see like kind of like the gross people and the ones we don't really want to talk about. But then we see Ray Jackson for the second time. Now, the first time he's introduced, he has a line that I want to talk about, where a friend of his, so first of all, he's not a trained martial artist at all. The first time we see Ray Jackson, he is literally just throwing haymakers at a heavy bag. Well,
no. The first time we see Ray Jackson, he is...
he's in the gym.
He's on the trolley train. He's on the trolley train.
No. In the intro sequence.
Oh.
Yeah. In the intro sequence, he's throwing haymakers at a heavy bag and like just like dripping sweat. And like this random dude comes up to him and he's like, "Hey man, I heard you're entering the Kumite. That's really dangerous, you know?" And he's like, "Yeah, I need a few more scars in my face."
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
I remember that because I like at the presence of that line, I released a solid and hearty ha.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So this, I guess, then the second time that we're introduced to him is on the trolley train in San Francisco, China, Hong Kong ?
San Francong.
And San Francong, and it's kind of like Big Hero 6, like Neo Tokyo. San Francisco. Neo Tokyo.
This isn't Avo. Get that weeb shit out of your head.
It's actually all Akira. This movie just slow fades into Akira.
Oh no.
And there's a random woman on the trolley train, and he comes up behind her and makes like gross sexual comments to her. And so in my mind, with my like 2018 eyes on, I'm like, oh, he's a bad man. This is the nasty man. They're gonna fight. He's the villain. They're gonna be friends, but he's actually the villain. Nope.
He's just the nasty man.
he's the nasty man. He's like another hero. I'm like, how? I thought he was the bad guy. No, the bad guy's some random South Korean dude.
Yeah. Also, the only reason he's the bad guy is because the plot said so. Like he didn't like invoke any like specific vendetta towards Jean Claude Van Damme until Ray Jackson like randomly called him out. So now that I brought that up, go ahead.
Jean Claude Van Damme beat his world record.
Yes, but like that didn't do
hold
anything.
On, I'm sorry. Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels.
Thank you.
Beat his world record.
Thank you for correcting yourself.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, so let's take 2 steps back. Let's go to they're at the hotel. They're being picked up by this guy named Lin, who is like the stereotypical like fast talking sleazy con guy or like wannabe con guy who is their liaison to the Kumite.
Yes.
So now Ray Jackson and Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, are in the hotel lobby, and they're met by Lin, who takes them to the Kumite. And at the entrance to the Kumite, after this extended like walking down this creepy ass hallway scene, is met by this like super stoic, super tall, random Asian man who like stares him up and down.
I would just like to add a point that's a real quick point that's really important to me. Lin is always wearing dope tracksuits.
Yes,
every
and
shot.
6 sunglasses.
And some 6 sunglasses. Do you know the he's what's his name? Tea Time.
No.
He's a rapper. He does like he's got sick music, but he raps about anime and nerdy stuff. And it's really good.
I do not know who that is.
He looks like Tea Time. Like I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
Everyone to go look up Tea Time. Go listen to his music. He deserves money.
Okay. So we get to the entrance of the Kumite, which is guarded by 3 tall Asian dudes who are supposed to be bouncers, I guess, but they're the least physically imposing people I've seen in this film so far. And
yes,
Lin does some fast talking and explains like who they are and what they're here for. And the middle Asian dude, who's like the grumpiest grin, the crossed arms, just stops what he's doing, gives a big old thumbs up, and just goes, "Okay, USA." And then they're in the Kumite. They have entered the Kumite officially. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you need.
That's the movie. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, folks.
Thanks, guys. That was it. You think that they'd have some really like nasty, beefy dudes as the bouncers to like an international fighting
secret fighting tournament that no one is supposed to talk about.
Exactly.
A tournament to the death.
They'd have some beefy fighters.
But no. It's guarded by the skinniest Asian dudes. And then once you go inside, you see like the most egregious collection of 80s buff dudes. Which, thank you.
Throughout watching the film, I consistently kept looking at my roommate and just being like, "Hey, you listen to episode 1, right?" She's like, "Yeah." You know how Matt talks a lot about 80s buff? She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, this is the pinnacle of 80s buff.
This is probably why it's my favorite movie. It's just 80s buff. It's just 80s buffness.
It's 80s buff. It's sick tracksuits. It's sick flips. It's Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels.
This is one of my favorite movies, and I know you can exactly tell why.
I know exactly why.
Yep.
It's got fun color palettes. There's a lot of satin.
There's a good amount of linen too.
Yeah, I know exactly why this is your favorite movie. I feel like anytime I feel like the next date you go on, you just need to look a woman in the eyes and be like, have you seen Bloodsport?
And if they say no, I immediately leave.
You flip a table and leave. That is the only plausible reaction.
Now, to be fair, to this date, I am wearing a very nice jacket, a wide leg pleated pant, and then a tank top that just barely covers my nipples.
Oh my god, I forgot about the tank tops.
Into my pleated pants.
Holy shit, I forgot. How did I forget about the tank top? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Spaghetti straps. Oh, it's like spaghetti straps to a plunging neckline.
See, the thing is, with the tank top in particular, it's not like stretched out. It doesn't look like it's stretched out or like worn in like gym clothes. It looks pristine. Like it looks like it was designed specifically for that reason. And I'm for it.
The tone, the acting, and the fashions of this movie feel like at any given point it could just turn into a porno.
Yep.
Like a high quality porno, but a porno. Nah.
All right. We're quickly getting back on topic.
So we're an hour into the movie, or hour and a half into the movie, and we have just entered the Kumite. That's it, an hour.
Well, to be fair, adjusting for time dilation based on that flashback, we're about 6 hours into the film now, and we've finally reached the Kumite. Now,
it's been 47 years. We have now entered the Kumite.
Exactly, the wormhole has been entered. The official adjudicators of the Kumite have to verify the invitations, which apparently there were invitations. I didn't know that until this point in the film.
Did you need to?
No, but apparently there were invitations, and they had to present their invitations to these adjudicators. And when Jean Claude Van Damme, the Muscles from Brussels, shows his invitation, they don't believe him. They're like, "You're not a Tanaka. You're a white dude." And he's like, "I will show you." So they make him prove that he is a Tanaka by showing off apparently the signature Tanaka forbidden technique, the dimmak. AKA the death touch.
I'm going to keep referencing this because I made her watch it with me. My friend took a couple years of Chinese throughout high school, and at some point she looks at me and she just points at the screen and she goes, "There's a letter back, or there's a symbol back there that means 4, but in certain contexts it can also mean death." And I'm like, I'm going to assume that it means death in this context.
Now, okay, I now that you say that, it reminded me of something else. A lot of the symbols and the language is accurate, which I very much appreciate.
I believe that.
The kickboxer Paco, his shorts have the tie on his shorts is from the actual, I guess the word would be dojo in this case, that he trained at or that he fought for. So it's his legitimate, in real life dojo. And a lot of the symbols were very accurate to the language.
So Van Damme fucking straight punches through a brick.
Okay, so he demonstrates the dimmak by calling his shot. He's like, okay, you pick a brick. There's a stack of 12 bricks, 4x3. And he's like, okay, you pick a brick. And the random dude picks the top brick. And he goes to punch the top brick. And they're like, no, the bottom one. So now it goes through this whole slow-mo meditation sequence with an excellent score by Paul Herzog. And he just randomly, he does this whole breathing exercise. He gets into his form. He gets his hands just right. And then out of nowhere, his eyes open wider than anything I've ever seen before. His mouth just stretches as if he's about to swallow a whole rat, and just strikes the brick with the heel of his palm. And out of nowhere, the bottom brick just fucking explodes.
I need someone to re-edit Pan's Labyrinth with Jean Claude Van Damme, Muscles from Brussels. Anytime he makes that, it's honestly the end of Sleepaway Camp. It's the same fucking face. Any time. It's just Van Damme. Honestly.
It's beautiful. It's truly beautiful.
So he destroys the brick, proves he's a Tanaka. He's like, oh, great. You can join the tournament now. the nasty man who is consistently wearing Ed Hardy Ed Hardy or Harley Davidson
not Ed
at
Hardy.
all times.
It's not Ed Hardy.
The nasty man and the Ed Hardy.
I don't think Ed Hardy existed yet, but okay.
If this took place 15 years later, he would be wearing Ed Hardy.
Oh wait, I totally skipped a part.
Oh my god.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just jumping around. When he breaks the brick, this is like the formal introduction to Bolo Young's character, Chong Li. And if you've seen Kung Fu movies before, Bolo Young always plays the villain. So like if you've seen a Kung Fu movie before, you see Bolo Young, you're like, oh, okay, he's a bad guy. He was in...
He's got sick pecs.
Yes. He was in Enter the Dragon, and a lot of his dialogue in this film is a quote-unquote homage to Enter the Dragon. So he sees Frank Dukes break the brick, and he looks at him and just goes, "Brick don't hit back," which is a direct line from Enter the Dragon, where he just goes, "Boards don't hit back."
See, I was going to say, since this movie was poorly edited and like 90% ADR, is there any chance that they just took his dialogue from Enter the Dragon and overlaid it?
I don't think so, because like the line from Enter the Dragon is Bruce Lee saying "boards don't hit back," not Bolo Young. Like they're definite homages to Bruce Lee.
I want them to go through and just like pick different syllables that Bruce Lee said, so it's like don't hit back.
Jesus.
And that's the entire film.
So I'm looking at my notes, and just in big capital letters, it just says Bolo Young pecs.
Okay, he looks like a piece of toast.
He does. He's so broad. His shoulders are just like 4 times the size of his head.
He looks like fucking Adam Driver in the newest Star Wars movie.
He looks like the meme of Adam Driver, yes.
Yeah. Wide load.
Yes.
God.
So now the tournament.
How far into the movie are we now that we've discussed?
It is now Wednesday, dudes. The movie
What is the run? Real quick, what is the runtime on this?
I think it's 90 minutes. It's very close to 90 minutes. Like
much happened.
Yeah.
And yet so little.
I think to qualify for being feature length, it has to be like over, I think, an hour and 20. I think they're like at an hour 30 barely. And again,
gotcha.
It was just stretched from slow motion and like montages.
Yeah. So we failed to talk about how he's on the run from the military.
Yeah, all right. That's such a forgettable part.
Because they never, just real quick, he's on the run from the military. We don't know what for. We don't know why. He was going on furlough.
Okay, so
or something.
So he's supposedly some super, like, he's basically like super soldier, secret agent, something or other. Because
Marvel's Captain America, but it's Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels.
That's basically the plot of this movie.
I love that.
So the real life Frank Dukes claimed to be CIA, special ops, whatever. Also not true. So like Frank Dukes, the character, is this highly trained, highly skilled secret operative for the army, and it's never expanded upon. That's just kind of thrown in there.
I'm so sad that none of it turned out to be true. Was any of it true?
No. Like they literally found a lot of the trophies that he had quote unquote won, he just bought from like the local trophy store.
Oh my god.
And put his name on it.
Did they figure this out before or after they made a movie?
Way after. I'm talking like 2005.
Oh no.
Like way after.
Oh no. That's so disheartening.
Yeah. Which is like, I made my friend Patrick watch this over like winter break for his winter break. So like middle of January or beginning of January. And we're watching, like, unironically, we're watching this at 3 a.m. And every time, like, I'm watching him watch it, and every time something comes up that's just so over the top, I just have to like look at him and whisper at him, just like, this really happened. And I kept like reinforcing it and just reinforcing it. This was like a true story.
I hate that.
Oh, it's so good for that exact reason.
Oh, okay, so we're seven generations into the film.
It's been 80 years since this film started. The Kumite has officially started. And
the Kumite, the secret fighting tournament that everyone knows about.
That you're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
And we get treated as like some pretty good action, in my opinion. Like the thing that I like most about 80s action and older kung fu movies in general is they don't cut a lot. They, for obvious reasons, like it was just harder to cut on film than it is now. So a lot of the action has to be shown, and a lot of the action in this movie is shown to completion. So if you see a strike, yes, it's pulled, but it looks much better than if they like started a swing and then cut on the backswing. So you get this like full effect of the impact without it being like cheap.
That's really nice though, because I feel like it makes it more believable. They had to take the extra time to like, and Van Damme does all of his own stunts.
Yes.
Most of his own stunts.
I think he still does for the most part.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He's ridiculous, but I love him.
For actors like that. I have such respect for actors like that. So you reach a point where I think in a lot of modern action movies, Marvel is, I would say, the worst offender to this, the Marvel films, where it's almost nauseating. Like, cut the face, cut the hand, cut the contact, cut the face, like cut to like someone rolling under a car, cut to explosion, cut back. Like it's so like
there's a video by Every Frame of Painting about this, and it's specifically talking about Jackie Chan's movies, where they show the editing techniques that go into making effective hits. And Marvel, like what you were saying, Marvel's the worst offender, where they cut the hit out and make it seem more like they try to make it seem like impactful, but they totally miss the mark every time.
My favorite is if you can find them easily because it's Disney and they log and publish everything, where it shows the unedited versions of just the people fighting in front of the green screen. It looks so dumb.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the show Arrow?
Yes.
Like, have you ever seen any fight scene from Arrow?
I've seen clips on YouTube and Twitter and stuff.
Like Arrow is really cheesy, but the thing that I really like about their fight scene, it's very choreographed, it's very cheesy, and like what they do very well is they'll show like a wide shot of like everyone fighting, and they're going through the same like punch right, punch left, kick, punch right, kick motions, but they show it, like they show the whole action rather than cut away from it. So it looks cheesy and it looks kind of campy, but it fits the theme and it fits the mood of this, like the superhero story.
Right.
And then like in Bloodsport, because they had the limitations and they only had a X amount of feet of film, they show the action to completion, and like the characters are clearly pulling their punches. So like they're not fully hitting these people, and they're definitely overacting their reactions. But because they're doing that, it just feels like it just feels more impactful to me.
So because we've been talking about this movie for 1,000 years, I would say, instead of going shot by shot for the Kumite, what would you say are your two favorite stunts and fights that happened during the Kumite?
Two. That's hard to narrow down. I really like whenever Bolo Young's on screen. I find him to be a very entertaining actor, and every kung fu movie that I've seen in him, he always plays a villain. Like I said earlier, he's always like so over the top evil. Like his whole face like twists into this like gnarled smile as he like strikes his opponents down, which is just beautiful. It's so good.
He gives a lot of really good face.
Yes, there's a lot of good like close-up shots, like facial expressions. Yeah.
Glistening, always.
I'm going to give you three because there's one in particular that I want to talk about.
I'll allow three.
Good. the second one is the fight between Jean Claude Van Damme and Paco. Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, and Paco, where it starts like real friendly, and they're doing like their whole kickboxing thing, and he like Paco's like trying to give the knuckle touch, but it's a trick, and Jean Claude Van Damme falls for it, and it gets to the point where this angers the muscles from Brussels, and they just start trading kicks. It's like one kick, two kick, one kick, two kick, and they're just going back and forth, and it cuts to this beautiful slow motion scene where they're kicking each other in the ribs in slow motion, and then out of nowhere, you clearly see this is hurting Paco. Like, kicking Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, is hurting Paco, but Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, is unrelenting, and he just keeps kicking Paco, and it's beautiful.
I'm going to make you a little embroider hoop that says he just keeps kicking Paco as like a little inspiration for you every morning.
Just make it sad. Keep kicking Paco.
Yeah.
Keep kicking Paco. And then my third.
See, it sounds like you're telling Paco to keep on kicking.
Seriously. I mean, he could have won if he just kept kicking, but no, he had to stop. And then the third and final one that I think is very much worth mentioning is the I don't know where he was from. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but the African guy who has like wildly crazy eyes, and he just does like this whole like shaky finger point, and then he points at himself, and then he does like the finger across the throat thing, and that seems so ridiculous because he ends up knocking him out in like 8 seconds. Like, he knocks him out with one kick and then like pushes him out of the ring.
Yeah.
So please enlighten me as to yours.
I love the final fight with Bolo Young.
Okay, I was excluding that one because I think that's like pivotal. Like, I think that one's important.
Yeah. I love he's fighting a Japanese sumo wrestler whose name I can't remember. And the dude's thing is that he is essentially a wall of a man.
Yes.
And at one point, Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, does the death punch on him, or he basically flat palm smacks him, so we can assume it's a death touch.
They never allude to that, like, because like the death punch is supposed to be like the actual like killer punch, but he never kills anybody.
He doesn't kill him, but he given the context of the film, you can tell that it's like it's a bitch of a hit, like
he makes the same face, so it's probably the Dimak.
So, and the guy, like, you can tell that it hurts the guy, but he is unaffected for the most part. He keeps like walking towards him. This is a big dude. And so the guy goes to kind of like gorilla grab him, and basically
which is
put
his
him
only
into a
go-to
choke.
move.
It's fine. He's large. He's using what he's got. And Van Damme just absolute like drag queen style, like curse splat move, just drops straight into a split and punches him in the taint.
Yes.
Just like uppercuts him right into the crotch.
Yes.
And I think, again, I just went, yeah! Like, I was so fucking pumped. I liked a lot of the other fights and a lot of the cheesy dialogue that went with it, but I think that was definitely the moment that stuck with me most.
They were very entertaining fights, and like it showed off a pretty wide range of martial arts styles.
Yeah.
Now there are two more things that I want to go over before we get to the final fight. And
is one of them White Lady?
Oh shit, she's so forgettable to me.
I call her White Lady.
She has a name, but I can't remember it.
Becky.
All right, so let's discuss White Lady. She's a reporter who's doing a story on the Kumite, and now keep in mind the events of this movie take place over about 3 days. Like, this isn't like a month-long journey. So the first day she's there, she meets Jean Claude Van Damme after being awkwardly and aggressively hit on by the two Middle Eastern fighters, and gets tricked into going to dinner with him.
Were the Middle Eastern fighters in brownface?
I don't think so. I'm not entirely sure. There's no like IMDb page for them because I think this is the only film they've ever been in. Who knows?
All right, that's a legacy.
Well, a lot of them were just like martial artists that they kind of like picked up. They weren't like actually actors.
Yeah, or stuntmen, or
they don't have any other. So Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, wins a date with her by defending her honor at the bar.
She very quickly gives up her integrity as a reporter to
instantly.
Absolutely hit the Van Damme.
Yeah, like instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her story arc.
Yeah, basically. And then at one point I was like, oh my God, she's going to tell him she doesn't want him to get hurt. And then she tells him she doesn't want him to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't really do anything.
Nope.
I'm like, all right. Again, 1988.
Her entire character arc is, I'm a reporter, but I'm going to fall in love.
They met 2 days ago.
And they've already slept together and are apparently on the same flight home.
Yeah.
Which, how? Like, just from logistic reasons, she clearly had a flight. Like, she had a flight back. She canceled that flight back to get on this military plane with Jean Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Which, where does she live? Does she live in San Francisco? We know nothing about her. Zero about her. We know nothing. She's a reporter.
We know she's a reporter. Her dad was a reporter.
This just makes me think like she's just a crazy person. Like she's not actually a reporter. She's just like running amok in Hong Kong.
She does no reporting. We see at one point she's holding a tape recorder, but she doesn't really use it.
I don't think she hit record.
No. I think she just kind of like...
There probably isn't even tape in it.
Hold it up to her mouth and then slowly put it back down. She doesn't say who she's reporting for. However, I believe that they strictly had her there as a plot device to get to show Van Damme's butt.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Jean Claude Van Damme, the Brussels for muscles, showing his muscles and his Brussels.
Yeah, it's a good butt.
That was the other moment in the movie where like it shows his bare ass, and I just go, yes, white satin underwear, bare ass, and I just go,
it was bright red.
The sheets were white.
The sheets were pristine.
Bright red satin underwear, Jean Claude Van Damme's bare ass, and I just go, yeah.
How many times in this movie do you think you went, yeah?
Like 4 or 5, honestly. One was with the splits. One was the final fight. One was with the Jean Claude Van Damme's butt. There was one where him and Muscles and White Lady are walking down by the docks or something. And again, orange and blue color palettes. Mm-hmm. She's wearing like a blue like peplum dress, and he's wearing an orange button down with a tank top underneath.
Yep.
That made me go, yeah, because I was like, y'all aren't even trying anymore.
Nope.
I love a complimentary palette.
I couldn't agree more.
So where are we? Where are we in the film now?
We're technically we've gotten to the point where it's the final fight, but I wanted. We skipped over one part that I need to bring up. We mentioned earlier that he's being hunted by the military. They have hired Forrest Whitaker and some white guy to hunt him down. Now they show up in a total of, well, technically 4 scenes. They have 3 scenes where they actually are like hunting him.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is relatively early in the film where they go talk to Mr. and Mrs. Tanaka about him, and the Tanakas deny any involvement with the Kumite. The second is they find him in Hong Kong and they try to like take him in peacefully, but they pull out tasers that look like mag lights that also look like vibrators in the middle of a hotel lobby.
Yeah. And I wanted them to tase him and for him to just sit there and be like, ha ha, and have nothing happen.
Now I'm convinced this is a canon film trope, because in Time Cop they use a very similar line with the exact same tasers. So I think that the film company had like one prop, and they just kept using it. Yeah, because do you remember the scene in Time Cop, which bringing it all back together, where the future baddies go 50,000 volts, motherfucker, and then he ends up accidentally tasing himself after Jean Claude Van Damme does a beautiful split onto the kitchen counter.
Yeah, and in this one he goes, oh, you don't want to be hit with 50,000 volts right now, do you?
You'd be shitting 50,000 volts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just like a Canon Films like callback or their trademark or whatever.
A little Easter egg or something.
Yeah, but they always reference 50,000 volts, and it sounds like a lot, but I really don't know how many volts that. Like, I don't really know like how bad that is.
It's enough for me to not question it. It's not like 10 million, and it's not 40.
40 volt, motherfucker.
It's a light bulb. He just throws a light bulb at him.
Oh no!
I wouldn't be mad.
So yeah, so after the beautiful "Don't move, you'll be shitting 50,000 volts" line, they chase him, and Jean Claude Van Damme obviously gets away and continues fighting. And then the second time, it's the final day of the fight. It is the final, like, I guess 4 fights. So it's the fight with Paco, and then it's ultimately the fight with Chong Li.
Mm-hmm.
They find him in the alleyway to the Kumite and try to tase him, but end up tasing the wrong guy because Jean Claude Van Damme quickly Captain America shields by grabbing a trash can lid and reflecting the taser darts back at someone else, and
it's just science.
And then stealing the taser from him, where they're like, "All right, fine, you can fight now."
Yeah,
they're like,
and then they start rooting for him.
Yeah, like that whole scene is like, "You're coming with us. Okay, you can stay."
It's fine.
That's
he's lovable.
He is. He's a very handsome man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so now is the final fight. Now
finally,
I have died. That's how long it's been. I am legally dead.
It has been 300 years.
It's been the sun has been extinguished. The film is now ending.
I legally died and just forgot to lay down.
This is the last light in the universe, and once this film is over, heat death. That's it.
Oh my god!
That's how long it's
You're
been.
Just like, no, just the image of like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, come, my son, join me in your kingdom. And it's Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscle from Brussels. That is your heaven.
Yeah, I was just about to say that exact phrase.
Jean Claude Van Damme in like some pink and blue checkerboard shorts, like just like doing some arm curls. He's probably got like a cool dog or something.
My only thought is be like, if he like invites me to join him in his arm curls, I would destroy an elbow for that. Like, I'm not a strong person. I'm not a physically strong person.
I don't think some basic arm curls would destroy your elbow.
No, I would destroy my elbow because I would do them too long just trying to hang out with Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscle from Brussels.
I feel like he's so gentle and kind, though. He wouldn't want you to do that. You know what? He's probably a great physical therapist. He'd help you. I trust him.
Oh, so gentle, so caring.
So, who is not caring is Bolo Young Chong Li.
Chong Li. Which I have to bring up. Every time he celebrates, he looks like a toddler with a rattle. He shakes both fists at the same time, up and down, and just like cheers for himself, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I thought that there might be some form of like mental disability going on, because for most of the movie he doesn't talk. He just screams and shakes. And again, it's the 80s. Like, it's not exactly PC portrayals of non. I'm not gonna lie. This movie had some white savior bullshit going on.
Yeah,
but everyone sucked except for Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscle from Brussels.
Yeah.
That should be our vocal warm up for our podcast from now on.
We just say the muscles from Brussels. The muscles from Brussels. Fuck. Just say it until I start slurring.
Exactly. That's how you get ready for your day.
Good.
So it's the final fight.
It's the final fight. And for some reason, they changed the stage. So now the stage, or the fighting mat is now angled, which it wasn't before. So, okay. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, that was just like, sure.
See, I thought it was just like kind of like make it a little bit harder. Like, oh, the stakes.
But I mean, like, I guess. But like, why? Like, it's a fight to the death regardless.
Well, the interesting thing for me was that they showed them raising the stage, but then it didn't affect the plot in any way.
Nope.
So if it was kind of like, oh, we keep slipping or something, or it keeps freezing until we're just in like a box, like, nah.
Yeah. So they do the whole ready, set, go thing with the judge.
Mm-hmm.
And from the start, Jean Claude Van Damme, the Muscles from Brussels, is controlling this fight. Now he's got the center controlled. He's got Chong Li. He's got his vendetta against Chong Li because no, I skipped over the whole part.
Oh my God.
I lost it. Oh no. I feel like I should edit this, but I'm not going to. The reason Chong Li is now the villain is because he injured Ray Jackson, the nasty man, Jean Claude Van Damme's only friend, which apparently they're best friends now, even though they've met a day ago.
2 days. It's been 2 days.
It's been 2 days. But Chong Li, in Chong Li's fight, Ray Jackson gets hurt and they think he's going to die and everything. So like now Jean Claude Van Damme swears a blood oath to avenge Ray Jackson. And during this,
a nasty man who he met 2 days ago.
During this like blood oath swearing, he takes a late night trolley ride that just shows a real sad montage, this is the final montage of the film, mind you. It's just a real sad montage overlaid with the most perfect power ballad. Now, this is the cliche of the 1980s. If you want to express sadness, you have a breakup song with a guy driving or being driven at night looking out the window. Now, my analog for this is if you've ever seen Rocky IV, there are 2 sad montages in it that are very worth watching, and I will send them to you later because they're so good. But the only way to convey sadness or breakup or death or tragedy in the 80s is drive at night with sunglasses on or stare out a window while being driven while some random power ballad plays.
That's the only way to do it now.
Yeah. I agree, honestly. I've had many breakups where I've just had to drive all night with nothing but Foghat playing.
I was about to say, what is your go-to like breakup power ballad? Wasn't expecting Foghat.
It's not Foghat. It's not really Foghat. That's the only band I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh my God, Whitney, all day, any day.
No. Not like a Whitney ballad. I'm talking like glam metal power ballad. There's a huge difference.
I just listen to Halo by Beyonce until I feel better.
I have a playlist. I'll send it to you.
Please.
All right. So now, all right. I apologize for the distraction. I totally forgot about that part.
You're derailing this podcast.
I needed to because I needed to talk about that sad montage. It's too good not to ignore. So we're back at the final fight. The only reason Jean Claude Van Damme is like this angry and this like dominating the fight is because he swore a blood oath to Donald Gibbs' character, Ray Jackson, who Ray Jackson started everything. Like Bolo Young's character, he was a dick, but he wasn't the villain until Ray Jackson, after winning his first fight, just like points at him randomly and goes, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." Like there was no reason to call him out. Like he's a
nasty man.
You could have called out literally anyone else in the Kumite audience, but you chose Bolo Young, and that's why he's the villain now.
What if he was actually pointing to the guy sitting next to Bolo Young? He was like, shit, but it's too late to backpedal, whatever.
Right, if you look at the people that are sitting around Bolo Young's character, they're all like half his size. Just because he's a tank of a man.
He looks like a wide piece of toast.
Yeah. And Jean Claude Van Damme is definitely just wrecking his shit. And he knocks him down, and while Jean Claude Van Damme respectfully waits for him to get back up rather than finishing the fight like he should have, Bolo Young's character reaches into the waistband of his shorts and crushes up what appears to be a stick of chalk, which was, I guess, his trump card the entire time, and throws the chalk into Jean Claude Van Damme's eyes.
It looked like a magical tum.
Yeah.
Like it was like an antacid or something.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't for the fight. It was definitely for after, when he ate all that spicy Hong Kong food.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Jean Claude Van Damme is blind. He's effectively blind. He's swinging wildly. He's missing. Nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then he remembers his training.
From the tea ceremony.
And also getting beat up while blindfolded, which...
Yeah.
All right. So he finds his center once more.
The interesting thing about that is that he does the face again.
Yes. Except his eyes are bleeding.
His eyes are bleeding. They're like coming out of his head. Like his mouth just expands to be 3 times the size of an average man's mouth.
It is now 4 times slow motion.
Yes. It slows down, but they keep the audio in. And for anyone who knows anything, when you slow down audio, the pitch drops a couple levels. So it's just like low pitched wailing with like 80s synth going on around it and like bells and whistles and just like eyes bleeding, just like over.
Wild swing and a miss.
No.
Karate chop and a miss. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
That final shot took a good like 10 minutes.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like they just used slow motion and montage to like pad out the film because there's really like 4 plot points. I'm going to the fighting tournament. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the plot.
Yeah. And then insert sick flips and Jean Claude Van Damme's The Muscle from Brussels butt.
Yeah.
It's a great butt.
It's a very good butt.
Like, it's a great butt. Excuse me, while on our audio-based medium, I make faces that only you can see.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I haven't had the Discord up in a minute, so I have not been looking at your face.
Please edit that out.
No.
Oh my God.
So now, to close out this eternity of a movie, Jean Claude Van Damme, the Muscles from Brussels, finds his center, and despite being thrown the referee, he realizes that from the energy or whatever that it's not actually Bolo Yeung, so he doesn't strike him down. But he finds Bolo Yeung. He keeps hitting him repeatedly until he makes him submit. Now, in the kumite, if you say mate, that is the ultimate way to lose. That shows submission. So rather than straight up
they
kill,
never mentioned before.
They kind of did. They're like, they very briefly said like, there's only 3 ways to win: by knockout, by knocking him out of the ring, or by death. And then they kind of like allude to saying uncle, but
oh yeah, like submission.
He wins by making Bolo Yeung's character say mate, and then Bolo Yeung's character just drops to the mat in like this most dramatic fashion. And everyone cheers, and it cuts to the hospital scene where Donald Gibb, Ray Jackson, the Nasty Man, is back drinking a beer in the hospital while also being treated by a doctor. Like the doctor's like touching like him and like fixing stuff, and he's just drinking a beer.
He has a bleeding head wound, and somehow he got a beer.
I don't know who gave it to him or how he got it, but he's drinking it.
It's fine.
Okay.
And the movie wraps up. The movie wraps up pretty quick.
The doctor's in the room, and the doctor just like, yep. The doctor just accepts it.
The film wraps up pretty quick after the end of the kumite, which is nice. It's basically like, all right, back in the hospital. The Nasty Man's fine. White lady's there. They get on the plane. Forrest Whitaker and White Man are there. Like
Forrest Whitaker and the white dude they're basically just like, I told you he won't show up. And then Jean Claude Van Damme appears from the plane as if like he magically apparated into the plane. He's like, what's taking you guys so long? And then it freeze frames, and then it tells us all of the wonderful, totally true facts about the real life Frank Dukes.
Oh my God. I'm so sad they're not real.
Are you surprised by any of it? A former special ops CIA agent entered an illegal underground Hong Kong fighting tournament and holds every record. How does that sound real?
I don't know. I just got excited.
I'm
really sad.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I suppose.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up.
Let's finish this one off.
Is this a good movie?
Oh, this is the best movie.
But okay, not because put your thinking glasses on.
Hold on.
Is this
I'm putting my thinking glasses on.
This is an audio-based medium. No one can see.
Doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
I had my spare. I had my spare in my desk.
Matthew has put on wire-framed
They're pink.
Pink aviators. No, right. With your thinking glasses on, is this a good movie?
I think so, yes. I genuinely think so. I think it's an excellent example in B movies, and I think it's an excellent example of low budget movie. This was made on a budget of like $1 million, which I know that's not like low budget, but what they
Van
did.
Van Damme's a pretty well household name, so I'm sure a chunk of that went to paying.
This was his first starring role.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in like other short films as the lead, but like one or two. And then this was his first feature-length starring role.
Interesting.
But I do think this is a good movie. I think it's, if you want to make a kung fu movie or an action movie in this regard, this is something you should watch. Because I think that the way that they treat the action is very exciting, and it's very visually descriptive. The characters leave a lot to be desired. The writing's very weak. But from a visual standpoint, I think that this is an excellent movie. Like, just from shot composition, from action sequences, from motion, there's a lot to be learned from this movie if you want to make movies.
I would agree. I would say that this is when you describe it's not a great movie, but it's a great B movie.
Well, that's what that Cannon company was. Cannon didn't really make high budget AAA movies. They really focused on the B movie genre.
I would say it's a great B movie, and all in all, it's a really fun movie.
Yes.
Like, I had a lot of fun watching this.
Yes.
I would definitely recommend to anyone, like, grab a friend, grab like a snack, maybe like a can of beer, and just watch it. And
every time Donald Gibb has a beer, you finish your beer.
Every time Jean Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels, does a split, you drink.
That's 7 times.
We should make a drinking game. Yeah.
That's 7. That's 7 beers.
Maybe a shot.
7 beers for 7 children.
7 beers for Jean Claude Van Damme.
Okay.
So, okay, my other question is, how many Van Dammes would you give this film?
Now, are we talking current Van Dammes, prime Van Damme?
We're talking Time Cop, Cannon, B movie, 1980s Van Damme.
I give this movie 1 mullet Van Damme out of 1 mullet Van Damme. It's a perfect score right there.
Yeah.
It's a perfect mullet.
I would say. I would give it 2 Van Dammes out of two Van Dammes for his 2 perfect cheeks, and 5 out of 7 drop splits.
Okay, that's a fair assessment.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, take us out, Matthew.
Okie dokie. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I would like to send a special thank you to Slime Girls for allowing us to use his music for our podcast. If you like our stuff, like, comment, and subscribe. We're on YouTube at Ticket Studs Podcast. We are on Instagram at Ticket Studs. We're on Twitter at Ticket Studs Pod. I'm at Manic Maelstrom on Twitter and pretty much everywhere. Gabby, you're at Sunflower Arms, correct?
Yeah, pretty much across the board, Sunflower Arms.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, do you know what we're gonna watch next? Have we discussed that?
I have an idea. We'll go ahead and drop in a little audio clue if you guys want to go ahead and figure that out. I have a couple ideas in mind. All I know is that it's going to be awful.
Sometime in the near future,
look forward to that.
A major earthquake will lay waste to the entire California coastline. From out of the rubble will rise a menace far more terrifying than the death and destruction.
If you have seen Bloodsport, or if you have seen any of the Cannon films such as Time Cop or Cobra or Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, please leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on these glorious B movies. And until next time, thank you once again for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.